Support for WNYC comes from Columbia University School of Professional Studies, offering high-achieving recent CUNY grads the opportunity to receive a full tuition. More at sps.columbia.edu/CUNY Fellowship.
At home or out and about, you're never too far from your mobile phone, which means you're never too far from WNYC. Live stream your favorite shows anytime. Just go to your browser and type in wnyc.org.
On last week's Wait Wait, Josh Gondelman realized that streaming TV has really changed how we spend the days of a year.
And now it's just like 600,000 episodes of The Office.
Exactly. I'm Peter Sagal. A lot of the TV we've been watching has been made by actor and producer Lena Waithe, and on this week's Wait Wait, we get a chance to thank her. Join us for the news quiz from NPR. Tomorrow morning at 11 on 93.9 FM and AM 820 WNYC.
For those of you who watch the Super Bowl for commercials, we have a guest for you. On the next All of It, I'll speak with Steve Carman, the so-called King of Jingles. He joins us to discuss how he created unforgettable music for ads for companies like Budweiser, Nationwide, and the iconic I Love New York campaign. I love New York. Call in and share your favorite earworm. I'm Allison Stewart. Join me for All of It, weekdays at noon on WNYC.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Tim Franks. On today's NewsHour, the US sharpens criticism of Israel over Gaza and Biden's legal victory, but political hammering. That's BBC NewsHour, coming up at 9 on WNYC.
We're in the mid-40s in the city right now under some partly sunny skies. Clouds, though, they will give way to some sunshine today, a high of 53. And then on Saturday, we might get some showers, clouds, but the high temperature will go all the way up near 60 degrees. Then on Sunday, partly sunny and lower 50s. It's 8:52.
Why again is it 2 to 4 times cheaper to buy some prescription drugs in, say, Australia, Canada, or France?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Charles Schwab. Schwab believes every investor deserves to work with a firm they can count on, with financial consultants ready to serve clients and 24/7 live help.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. The CEOs of 3 pharmaceutical giants got tough questions on Capitol Hill yesterday about the venerable arrangement where medicines can cost a lot more in the U.S. than in other countries. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer has details.
The hearing was held by the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, chaired by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Sanders says the drug makers charge much more for drugs here. He says the diabetes drug Januvia costs almost $7,000 in the U.S. compared to $900 in Canada and just $200 in France.
The outrageous cost of prescription drugs in America means that 1 out of 4 of our people go to the doctor, get a prescription, and they cannot afford to fill that prescription. How many die as a result of that? How many suffer unnecessarily?
Pharmaceutical executives blame the high prices on middlemen known as pharmacy benefit managers who negotiate prices with drug makers for insurance companies and employers. The CEOs also said lower drug prices would discourage research and development on new drugs. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Number nerds, and who doesn't like a juicy round number? The popular investment tool, the S&P 500 stock index, did pop above 5000 yesterday for a bit. It's just below to start the day. That index is up 22% in a year. The NASDAQ remains 1.6% below its all-time high set in the fall of 2021. Stock index futures this morning are up between 3 and 0.4%. Transgender people in the U.S. have much higher rates of economic hardship than the general population, according to a survey of over 90,000 trans people out this week. About 1 in 3 trans people said that they were living in poverty versus just over 1 in 10 for the general population. 18% were unemployed and 11% said they've lost a job because of their gender identity or expression. Marketplace's Henry Epp reports on what is behind these outcomes.
Discrimination by hiring managers likely plays a role here, says Shanna Qatari, an associate professor at the University of Michigan.
So it might not be something as explicit as I'm not hiring you because you're trans, but I'm not hiring you because you don't match my idea of what a woman should look like.
The survey also found over a quarter of trans people couldn't afford to go to a doctor when they needed to, and that can have economic consequences too, says Rodrigo Hang-Leitonen, executive director of the National Center for Transgender Equality, which conducted the survey.
The longer any kind of health condition goes untreated, the harder it is to navigate your daily life and meet deadlines and get to work on time and things like that.
In some communities, at least, there are resources the trans community can tap into, including the San Francisco LGBT Center. Drew Lockhart is its director of employment services.
We work to really identify which employers are going to support community members.
Because an inclusive employer, Lockhart says, can help trans workers get a job and thrive in it. I'm Henry Epp for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Fidelity. A dedicated advisor can help create a wealth plan for a full financial picture. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. And by the podcast Ripple, a new investigative podcast from Western Sound and APM Studios. Listen now to Ripple.
I keep hearing about some kind of match or contest between big guys from Kansas City and San Francisco on Sunday. The prediction is that more than 100 million people are going to tune into the Super Bowl. It's very rare so many people will look at the same thing at the same time in our streaming when we want to era. This time of year, I get to talk to Janine Poggi, the editor-in-chief of Ad Age, who's looked at the ads. Hey, Janine.
Hi, it's my favorite time.
Now, you've seen more of the ads than I have. I've poked through a bunch. I didn't see anything that just, was so side-splitting I couldn't breathe. Did you see anything funny?
It's the problem with humor, right? A lot of it sort of blends together. It takes a lot to stand out when you try to do humor, and a lot of the Super Bowl ads are. I thought the BMW ad with Christopher Walken, which you have a whole bunch of people trying to imitate him, a little cameo from Usher in it. I thought that was funny.
Nice ride.
It's the real deal. 100% electric.
It's the real deal.
Yeah.
Janine, that is the one that I did think was funny. It was about, except no substitutes, there's only one authentic BMW and one authentic Christopher Walken. Yeah, and what else do you like?
I like the E-Trade one. The E-Trade babies, always a fan favorite, right? But the E-Trade babies are playing pickleball, and it was just cute, right? Not laugh out loud, but enjoyable and cute nonetheless.
These guys are intense.
We got nothing to worry about. With E-Trade from Morgan Stanley, we're ready for whatever gets served up.
Dude, you gotta work on your trash talk. I'd rather work on saving for retirement.
Now, once upon a time in this world, Janine, there was an industry called cryptocurrency, and they used to, back in the day, advertise a lot in the Super Bowl. You seeing much crypto?
No, not surprising here, given what happened with the crypto market. We did see like a crypto bubble of sorts where a bunch of crypto brands advertised, sort of like the .com bubble, if you remember. All of the brands, the Pets.com of the world, that advertised in the Super Bowl and then the next year went out of business. Similarly, we're just not seeing that in the Super Bowl this year. There is some emerging tech conversations going on, especially around AI, not necessarily AI companies advertising in the Super Bowl, but how AI is being applied.
And it is the 2024 Super Bowl. I'm supposed to say these syllables: Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. Are brands jumping aboard that at all?
I don't see how we could not talk about that. Look, are you necessarily going to see Taylor Swift in a commercial? No, not necessarily. But there is no way. We know that all of these agencies that create the Super Bowl commercials for brands, they're in their war rooms, gearing up with the meme factories of any way brands could lean into any Taylor Swift moment.
Janine Poggi, editor at Ad Age, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Janine and I also discuss how brands, with just a couple of exceptions, are avoiding issues, capital I, in their Super Bowl ads, trying to keep the trolls and the backlash at bay. That'll also be in the Marketplace Morning Report podcast feed or online at marketplace.org. Our executive producer is Kelly Silvera. Our digital producer is Dylan Mietinen. Our engineers are Jessen Duhler and John Brewington. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with our Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
WNYC supporters include Mount Sinai, using leading research in clinical trials. Experts at the Mount Sinai Tisch Cancer Center deliver personalized treatments for patients. Learn more at mountsinai.org/cancercare. We find a way, Mount Sinai.
Up next, the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Their advertising blitz is inescapable. Last night, Democrat Tom Suozzi and Republican Mazi Pilip squared off in a debate about who should replace George Santos in Congress. We have reactions today on The Brian Lehrer Show with analysis. Plus, more analysis of yesterday's Supreme Court oral arguments. That's at 10 this morning. 45 with some sunshine now. Today becoming mostly sunny and 53. Tomorrow, slim chance of showers, clouds, and a high temperature near 60.
This is WNYC, FM, HD, and AM, New York.
Welcome to NewsHour. It's live from the BBC World Service in London. I'm Tim Franks. The US warns Israel about the dangers to civilians if it pushes, as expected, into the southern Gazan city of Rafah. Palestinians there say they fear the worst.
We are expecting them to come, because if they come to Rafah, it will be the end for us. We are waiting the death.
Also, the slow but surprising election results in Pakistan. President Biden hits back at a legal investigation which questioned his mental faculties.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. My memory is fine.
The former Fox News host Tucker Carlson has an interview, or is it an audience, with Vladimir Putin. And football's lawmakers have a plan to improve players' behaviour, the threat of being shown the blue card and sent to a sin bin. All that after the news.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. Independent candidates backed by the jailed former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan have established a clear lead in the official vote count for Thursday's general election. They've won 52 of the seats declared so far. The party of another former Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, who's seen as favoured by the military, has won 43. Caroline Davis is in Lahore.
Inside the headquarters of Nawaz Sharif's PMLN party in Lahore, supporters gathered for his arrival to the sound of drums and fireworks. The party says it already has enough seats to form a government, but the same claim has been made by Imran Khan's PTI party. Candidates backed by Mr. Khan are all standing as independents because their party was not recognised by the Electoral Commission weeks ago. Independents have 3 days to join a party. The PTI will need to find a solution quickly as other political parties eye up their candidates, hoping they can be persuaded to join their ranks. Even Mr. Sharif's party have suggested that they might want to absorb some of them.
The UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk says Haiti suffered its most violent month in 2 years of conflict in January. Gang violence has spiralled and armed gangs now control many parts of the country. His spokesperson, Marta Hurtado, told a news conference over 1,000 people had been killed last month alone and that children were especially affected.
The impact of this torrent of violence on children continues to be of particular concern. In 2023, 167 children were killed and injured by bullets. Some were executed by gangs or so-called self-defense groups for the suspect support for rivals. The recruitment of children into gangs remained extremely worrisome.
Prince Harry has agreed further damages in his case against Mirror Group newspapers in Britain. He settled his remaining claims of phone hacking and invasion of privacy. The amount awarded has not been made public. Here's Helena Wilkinson.
Prince Harry was not in court for today's hearing, but there is no doubt he will see this settlement as another victory. In December, the High Court ruled that 15 of 33 sample newspaper articles were the product of phone hacking or the product of other unlawful gathering. Harry was awarded close to £140,000. It left 115 remaining claims, which Harry brought against MGN. Today, the High Court heard that those had now been settled out of court. It avoids a further 1 or possibly 2 trials, which would have been extremely expensive.
Polish farmers have kicked off a month-long general strike, blocking roads and border crossings with Ukraine to protest at cheap imported products. They follow a 2-month blockade of the frontier by Polish truckers, demanding restrictions for their Ukrainian counterparts. BBC News.
On WNYC, 45 and partly sunny at 9:04. Good morning. I'm Michael Hill. New York City could offer free mass transit to people who need it the most if officials are willing to spend the money. WNYC Stephen Nesson reports on a new analysis.
$67 million a year. That's what it would cost